Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. This podcast is available in audio format from wherever you cast your pods and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today.
We've got 7 updates for you today, so a bit of a busier show than we've had recently. We've got updates to Google Docs, Slides and Sheets, all in one update. An update to Google Slides, Marketplace, Gemini for Google Workspace, that's going to be interesting to talk about, Google Account, Google Meet, and finally another one to Google Meet. As always, there is a link in the podcast or video description to the document that we read from. This contains some more detailed information, relevant links, some lovely pictures, and even some moving graphics showing you these features in action. So, let's get to it.
On with the show. Right, so the very first update that we have for everybody is to do with Google Docs, Sheets and Slides. So there's a new formatting sidebar available in Google Docs, Sheets and Slides on Android tablets. So this week, Google is further improving the Google Workspace experience on those large screen Android devices by adding a new formatting sidebar in Google Docs, Sheets and Slides. In addition to meeting the Google Material Design 3 guidelines, this new sidebar reduces the number of taps needed to navigate to formatting options, enabling you to more easily arrange text, tables, images, and more.
Okay, this is really nice. I mean, we've, as said many times before, we've seen a lot of these updates, these Android large screen sort of devices. So nice to see another one. For any of the listeners interested in this feature, there is a nice moving graphic on the document that we have linked to in the podcast or the video description.
Something I would, sorry to interrupt, something I would quite like to say about this moving graphic though, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, but so the way that this update is working, there's a button on the right hand side that you can tap on and a menu will appear with various different formatting options, which is very similar to the options that you have along the top. But does the new menu that pulls out, doesn't that just have the exact same options that you see along the top anyway? Does it have anything extra?
I think it's probably got the same stuff.
Maybe you can like scroll down or something to get to more options.
Yeah.
But I did think everything that you see there, you can already access.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think there's probably a couple of things. One, it makes it just a little bit easier to click the buttons, I guess, if you imagine you're on a touch screen, those buttons at the top are quite small. And I think it just makes some of the things like the text and typeface a little bit more visible. You can see at a glance what typeface you've got and what sort of formatting you've got on the text and various things like that. I think that's probably why they've done it. But I do know what you mean. It is...
I like it. It looks nice. It looks smart. You have all those options bundled together, but I did think it's literally, instead of one bar with all the options along the top, it's more of it's a table with all of the options available, but it did look like basically just the same options.
Yeah. I think this is probably why they've done it on the large screen Android devices rather than say on the web, because I think it just gives you a little bit more room to click and not to click, to tap, with your finger when you're on those large screen devices. I think that's probably why they've done it anyway. Thank you, Adam. What's the rollout pace and availability, please?
Okay, so rollout to rapid release is right now. Launch to scheduled release is planned for March the 6th, and available to all Google Workspace customers, Google Workspace individual subscribers, and users with a personal Google account.
Great. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, you can now easily drag and drop an image to replace the background in Google Slides. So hovering over the border of an empty slide before dropping in an image, which could be from your desktop, content library, or another web page, will now set the image as the background in Google Slides. Dropping the image anywhere else will simply insert the image into the slide. So I quite like this, and again, that there's another moving graphic to go along with this. The key bit to see with this, so when you're hovering your image, if you want it to replace the background, you'll see a border go around your slide, and that will indicate that it's going to replace the entire background and not just insert the image as an image.
Yeah, that's quite right, Adam, and thanks for clarifying that for our listeners. So, as Adam said, there's a moving graphic here showing you that in action, if you want to see that in more detail. I echo what Adam says. I think this is a really nice update. The fact that you can just drag this in is really nice to see. And I like the fact that they've differentiated between when you're setting it as a background and when you're just dropping it in as an image, because some people...
Definitely, because I think I probably used to just stick the image in and then make it big enough to fill the background and say, well, this is the image that I'm using for my background. But now that you can actually insert it as the background image, I think that's a really nice little update. So I like this one.
Yeah, I think it's really nice as well. What's the rollout pace and availability for this, please, Adam?
Okay, rolling out to rapid release right now. Launch to scheduled release is planned for February the 26th, which is probably the day this podcast comes out, actually. And this is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, Google Workspace individual subscribers, and users with a personal Google account. I've also added a lovely link within our document if anybody would like to learn more about changing the theme, background, or layout in Google Slides.
Thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, Marketplace. So there's new updates to the Google Workspace Marketplace. So way back when in 2023, Google introduced the ability for admins to install Google Chat apps to direct messages on behalf of users within their domain from the Google Workspace Marketplace. And I believe we did discuss that a fair bit on this very podcast. But now, end users can also discover and install Google Chat apps from the Google Workspace Marketplace. Additionally, users can now open the Google Workspace Marketplace directly from within Chat. This will include an enhanced browsing experience with curated app categories such as intelligent apps. Lastly, developers can start publishing chat apps on the Google Workspace Marketplace, allowing users to more easily discover, install, and use the apps.
Okay, well, this is really good. I mean, I'm all for people being able to access these features a little bit more easily. The other thing that's quite nice is this will take the load off of administrators, potentially.
We do like it when that happens.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you're going to go in a little bit to explain whether this is on or off, or how admins can control this, Adam, and particularly for users who are under 18 as well. I don't know whether Google specifically go into that in this update, but by default, basically, users who are under 18 have restricted sort of app control and app installation ability because there might be a situation where a user under 18 installs an app that isn't suitable, for example. We see similar in Apple MDM, for example, that we use with Jamf, where it restricts the apps down. So I'm sure you'll go into that a little bit, but I think generally, given a situation where the users, maybe you're in a small company and the users are trustworthy to be able to install their own apps and be able to make their own decisions, then I think it's great that they'll be able to do that, and it's a little bit more open for users to be able to do that. There's a bit of additional details here, is that right?
Yes, so chat app users can now leave reviews and flag any inappropriate chat apps directly from the Marketplace app listing. Lovely.
Oh, okay, that's useful as well. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see reviews on these things, and certainly flagging them as inappropriate as well is very useful. It's always a little bit of a gripe that I've had with Apple versus Google, because I know when Apple bought out their App Store, everybody was very critical about how much Apple controlled it and how they had to wait ages to get their app verified or get their app changed or anything like that. I'm sure that was very frustrating for developers, but my goodness, did it make the App Store safe. It was like you never installed anything from the App Store on an Apple device that was risky.
Unverified.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think the closest was that weird situation where Uber were using people's location even after they'd removed the app, which I didn't think was actually physically possible on iPhones, according to how they tell you that their iOS works. But anyway, that's a different topic. So that's the only time I've seen anything on the Apple side that's been remotely like that. But Google and Android seem to be a little bit more like, oh, hey, anybody can develop anything and just stick it on the store. I could be wrong in that. Maybe there is a verification process, but anyway, having the ability to flag it as inappropriate or a bit of a risky app is good. puts a bit of control there, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely, and it's always great to leave a positive review if any apps are particularly good and helpful, because I definitely do look at reviews whenever I'm making a purchase, whether that's something from Amazon or it happens to be an app. Obviously, I always take reviews with a pinch of salt because there's a few keyboard warriors out there, but particularly if people are being very positive about something, then it is always nice to see, and it can help people make an informed decision.
Yeah, especially if something's... I really like reviews that are very specific about something, tell you something quite... Rather than just saying, oh, it's a great app, it's like, oh, it's really good because it has this specific integration or that specific
Because
feature
I'm
or something.
kind of thinking, particularly, so this will be the marketplace, so for apps that they'll be using within Google Chat, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume if you're installing an app to use within Google Chat, you want it to do something specific. You're not just downloading this game looks fun, well, let's just download this willy-nilly. It's like, no, you've probably seen an app and you think, I could use this to do this, perform this task, it's going to make this bit a little bit easier, and so then you're probably going to install the app with that intention, and then if somebody has left a review to say, oh yes, this made this process so much easier, or they left a review saying, oh, well, I thought I'd be able to do this because that's maybe the app implied that, but actually you can only do this instead, then again, it will help you make a decision that way.
Yeah, for sure. And what you touch on there as well is also the fact that reviews are very useful for developers as well to see how they can improve their app. Thank you, Adam. What's the getting started rollout pace and availability, please?
Okay, so for the admins out there, installation and usage of chat apps for end users will be on by default. You can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about controlling user access to marketplace apps and allowing users to install chat apps. So you may wish that your users cannot install the apps yourselves. As an admin, you may wish to have full control out of that and push the apps that you like out across your domain, or do a bit of hybrid. Have a bit of both. Obviously, as an admin, that will be up to you. For the end users, they can also visit Google's Help Center to learn more about using apps within Google Chat. For the developers, you can also visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about building Google Chat apps, publishing into the Workspace marketplace, and getting chat apps featured. And there's links in our document for all of that. Rollout, so rapid release and scheduled release is available right now. Love to see it. And this is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, Google Workspace individual subscribers, and users with a personal Google account.
Great, thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
So up next, this is quite a big one, so forgive me as I'm about to waffle on. So, introducing Gemini for Google Workspace. Plus more AI offerings to better meet your business needs. So on February the 8th, Google announced the next chapter of the Gemini era. I must have been washing my hair that night because I don't remember that. As part of this change, the Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on is now called Gemini Enterprise. And we spoke quite a lot about Duet AI, I think it was just before Christmas. Gemini Enterprise includes full usage and access to generative AI features in Workspace, such as help me write, organize, and visualize, and more. Gemini Enterprise will continue to be the best way to get Google's most advanced AI features, like live translated captions in Meet. Google is also introducing Gemini Business, which is available to new and existing Google Workspace customers. Gemini Business is a Workspace add-on subscription which provides a subset of generative AI features available in Gemini Enterprise, subject to monthly usage limits. With tools to enhance productivity, boost creativity, and save you time, Gemini Business is a good option for businesses looking to get started with generative AI.
Okay. Google likes to change names of things.
So, in a nutshell, the main takeaway that I'm taking from this is that just before Christmas, they announced Duet AI, and now just after Christmas, it's being rebranded as Gemini.
Yep, that's exactly what I took away from it as well. I saw this come in and on email, and I thought, oh, Google, what are you doing? They do this all the time. Google just love to change the names of products for no real reason. I think they've just got too many people working there who haven't got enough to do, and they're just like, oh, we'll just give you the job of just rebranding something for no particular reason. What an absolute waste of time, in my opinion, to rebrand this as Gemini. I'm really not a fan of this update. I'm going to be right out there and say it. The name is ridiculous. I don't know why they've called it Gemini. I talked to Will about it, actually, and he said, oh, it's probably because it was Duet AI, and Gemini is like two things, isn't it? It's like two people. I was like, oh, right, oh yeah. He's quite creative, so he got it. I didn't get it at all. It went right over my head. And I think by the look on your face, Adam, it went right over yours as well. So, it's like, and that's coming from somebody who is a Gemini. I think the thing is, the name Duet AI worked really, really well because it's very descriptive. First of all, it's Duet, i.e. it works in conjunction with the Google Workspace apps, and it's AI, which is it's using artificial intelligence. I thought the name Duet AI worked great. The thing I didn't like that they'd done with Duet AI was this weird thing where they said Duet AI... Well, like I said here, Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise, that's something different. But do you remember that they had it as Duet AI Enterprise?
Yes, but it almost implied that it was only available for Enterprise, but actually it wasn't.
That's right.
Or something along those lines.
Yep. That's it. Yeah, exactly, Adam. And it was really confusing because I thought, why have they launched the first version of it as Enterprise? It would be like Apple launching the first iPhone as the iPhone Pro. It's like, there's nowhere to go from that. You know, you've already launched the...
You need Duet AI Basic before you can have the Pro version.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. So I think they kind of balls that up right from the start. But fundamentally, the name Duet AI was fine. When I saw this update, I thought, oh, great, they're dropping the Enterprise rubbish so that it makes it easier. But no, they've rebranded it as Gemini. Yeah, I'm sure that Google have their reasons for renaming this Gemini. I think it's a complete and utter waste of time.
And will they announce those reasons and make it publicly available?
Doubt it very much. I think it's an absolute waste of time and waste of resources in their company. God knows how much money it costs for them to rebrand this as Gemini. Yeah, I just think it's a total waste of time. Having said that, I think Duet AI is fantastic, or now Gemini, whatever it's going to be called, is a brilliant, brilliant tool. I think the tool is great. I just think this rebranding exercise is a total and utter waste of time. I don't know what you think, Adam.
Yes, I actually don't mind. I don't hate the name Gemini. In some ways, I almost prefer it to be one word instead of Duet AI. Duet AI is two, so I kind of liked the simplicity of calling it Gemini, so I don't mind that, but I definitely do think rebranding, like 2 months, 3 months after something else is just a bit ridiculous, because who's that familiar with Duet AI already that they don't really... It's way too soon to rebrand. Give it several years or something, because nobody really is that entrenched in Duet AI already.
And the thing is, Adam, sorry to interrupt you, but you are right. However, you could argue that now at the beginning is the best time to rebrand because nobody's
so nobody will remember it. They'll sweep it under a rock or sweep it under a rock. Duet AI never existed. You've never heard of it. It didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. It was always called Gemini. But that's the problem. This is Google. They're worth hundreds of billions or trillions or whatever they're worth now. Couldn't they figure out the name before they launched the product? I mean, didn't they think to themselves, what do we want to call this before we launch it? Rather than launching it and, like you say, a month later going, oh, actually, I think we'll just change the name. We'll come up with a different name. So
I wonder if it's actually to do with what I'm just about to mention, actually, because I think if you say Duet AI quickly, it almost sounds a little bit like Gemini. So then if you're speaking to Siri or Alexa, then you're not going to say, "Hey, Duet AI." It'll be much smoother to start a conversation with Gemini. And from that, so in addition to what I've just mentioned previously, customers of Gemini Enterprise and Gemini Business can now chat directly with Gemini through a new standalone experience. And this experience, which starts rollout already, is built on the 1.0 Ultra model and provides enterprise-grade data protections and admin controls. Gemini can be a starting point for work and a better way to research, brainstorm, and analyze information, all with the capability of double-check responses with confidence. With a Gemini Business and Gemini Enterprise plan, your conversations are not used for advertising purposes, reviewed by human reviewers, which implies they are reviewed by non-human reviewers, nor used to improve generative machine learning technologies. But for more information, you can see the latest on the Google Workspace blog and the previous post on how Google is protecting your Google Workspace data in an era of generative AI. The links to all of that is within our document. Rollout of Gemini starts today for Gemini Enterprise and Gemini Business customers and will continue over the next several days.
They're very keen to point out that they're not going to be using it for advertising purposes or anything like that, which
Which
great.
means they will.
You know, that's, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's good. That is great because a lot of people are concerned about that, especially what we've had before with Siri and Alexa and everything being used for things like that. So
I was just thinking, because I think, of if we Siri and Alexa, I was just trying to think, does Google have its own version of that? But it does, because my friend comes around and he's always, hey Google, what's this? And hey Google, what's that? I wouldn't be too surprised if that changes to, hey Gemini, what's this? And hey Gemini, what's that?
It might do, yeah. Maybe that's part of their grander plan, which would make more sense that they're renaming it to Gemini. That does make more sense. But again, guys, do it from the start. Don't launch something and then a month later change it. They must have known that was in the background or that was around it. So, but going to this in talking about using your voice and everything like that, I think that's going to be really, really cool. It's a natural evolution.
Although, sorry, I'm not sure it does actually specifically. Maybe it does. At the moment, it says that you can have conversations with Gemini. It doesn't specify via voice.
I think it did, didn't it? It said something about being able to. Yeah, you can chat directly with Gemini. Well, yeah, I suppose.
I kind of saw that as like Chat GPT type style.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I may be wrong. Obviously, it's in new development. It will change by this time next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, won't be called Gemini next week. You're right, Adam. It doesn't actually say about using your voice. So yeah, maybe it does just mean text conversations and things like that. So it will be interesting to see. I think this AI. It's like we said before when we talked about Duet AI when it first launched. We said AI is very, very good at certain things and has a real place, and other things not so great at. So it'll be interesting to see what it does. There's kind of some ideas here, right, about things that it can do. I love the way they've put the same link in for 3 of the updates. It's like it's all going to the same place, which is a bit odd. But do you want to read out? I don't know whether you want to read out all of these, Adam, but some of them are quite.
Yeah,
quite
let's run through them. So, with the new offerings, businesses will have greater access to Google's robust suite of AI power features, which can be used to research, brainstorm, and analyze information in Gemini, with access to Google's 1.0 Ultra and Enterprise grade data protections. Lovely. Double-check responses to validate information on Gemini. Lovely. Chat with Gemini to get the words and visuals just right and easily bring out the input from Gemini to your new or existing document, presentation, or email. Lovely. It can also help you write and refine emails in Gmail, even on the go from your mobile device, so we know it's available on mobile. Great. Generate original images from your presentations directly in slides. Create plans for projects in Sheets. Look your best in Google Meet with Studio Look. Generate backgrounds in Google Meet. Use translated captions in Google Meet. It's all pretty cool. So Gemini Business is a great option for organizations looking to get started with generative AI. Gemini Enterprise will be the right choice for organizations that want to ensure full access to generative AI features from Google. Customers are able to have both Gemini Business and Gemini Enterprise licenses in the same domain, providing flexibility on how they roll out generative AI in their organization. That's not going to become confusing.
Yeah, it's pretty useful though. I mean, at least you can split the licenses across a single domain if you need to, which is pretty useful because some people might not need the enterprise licenses. They might only need the business. I mean, there's not that much detail here about what the difference is between the two, but Adam's added some links in here which I think will probably give you some more description as to what the differences are between those different sort of versions. So yeah, I just want to make it clear, I think Gemini is great. I think the feature is great. It's just the rebranding name thing that I've got a problem with. But I think the actual getting off of that, I think Gemini itself is really, really cool. It's got some potentially really, really useful features for business. And the fact that they've put a lot about the privacy is very, very good as well. So I do like that. But anyway, let's carry on with this, Adam, because otherwise we'll be on this one update all night, won't we? So what's the additional details, getting started, and availability, please?
Gemini Enterprise is now available for Google Workspace non-profits. Gemini Business and Gemini Enterprise add-ons can now be purchased by non-profit customers with a Google Workspace for non-profit subscriptions. I've added a link if anybody would like to learn more about Gemini for Google Workspace, and you can now get started today with a no-cost trial. Getting started, so for the admins, visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about Gemini Enterprise and Gemini Business for Google Workspace. Also visit the Google Help Center to learn more about turning Gemini on or off for your users. Gemini Business is available as an add-on for Google Workspace Business Starter, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Starter, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Frontline Starter, Frontline Standard, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Essentials Plus, and Google Workspace for non-profits. Google is working to bring Gemini for Workspace to education customers. I can't completely remember. I thought Duet AI was available at education. Was it... Or was it not? I can't quite remember. I thought it was, but only Education Plus.
I think it was. I'm sure it was available for education.
Can't quite remember. Gemini is not currently available to Gemini Enterprise and Gemini Business users working in Hong Kong, France, or French territories. I imagine that's due to some political and government decisions that have been made within those areas. However, all other Gemini for Google Workspace features are supported within those locales. Gemini for Google Workspace features are only available for users over the age of 18. Actually, so that kind of answers that one. Actually, so why do they say that they are looking to bring it into Google Workspace for education? For adult learners. Actually, yeah, teachers as well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just for teachers, and you're right as well, adult learners, because you do get students over the age of 18, and so, yeah, maybe that. Interesting that it's not available in French territories or France. You know, France is renowned for being cautious with things like this, anything that invades privacy or anything like that. I think we could all take a lot of sort of direction from France, actually, because they get a lot of criticism for being quite slow moving or a little bit skeptical of these things. But actually, I think that a lot of the good laws and good protections that we have come from France, kind of looking at that and thinking, is that a good idea? Is it a good idea for us to put wireless in schools and things like that? You know, we now know that it's perfectly safe, it's okay, but it's good to be skeptical and it's good to ask these questions.
Absolutely, I definitely agree that it is good to question, even just to whether you don't really have much reason to go for or against something. It's always good to have conversations and just clarify, is this actually what we want to do? Are we actually happy with this? So it's always good to do a bit of research with whatever it happens to be anyway, and just make sure that you are making the correct decision.
Yeah, do your due diligence, that's for sure. Thank you, Adam. What's next, please?
Up next, so this update is slightly shorter than the last one. In fact, I think the next two are. There's now an updated user interface for signing in or signing up for your Google account. So Google has updated the look and feel of the sign in and sign up pages with a more modern look, which is in line with the material design across other products. You'll see the updated interface across web and mobile devices. Note that this is strictly a change to visual appearance, and there is no functionality impacts or changes.
Yeah, I've seen so many notifications about this as I've been signing into different accounts saying like, oh my god, we're going to have a new look soon and all the rest of it.
And I saw this actually on, I was using a Google Workspace education account earlier today, and they had this brand new sign-in, but for my account, which is business, then that still says that the new look and feel is coming soon.
Right. Oh, okay, so you've actually seen this then. I mean, for any of our listeners, there is a graphic here showing you what it's going to look like. It looks very nice, and I think it makes a lot of sense that Google are updating the sign-in page. I've got a couple of concerns, though. Number one is this new look is more kind of landscape than portrait, if that makes sense.
This is almost identical. If anyone has been using a Chromebook, specifically an updated Chromebook, because previously it was slightly different, but I think it was a few months ago or so, there was an update, and now just the login screen for Chromebook looks just like this.
Yes.
So now they've rolled that across the rest of Google as well.
Yeah, so that's my first concern, is that it's quite a landscape sign-in design rather than portrait. And the reason that concerns me is mobile devices. I wonder what this is going to be like on a mobile device. So for anybody listening thinking, what's he talking about where it's landscape? Previously on Battlestar Galactica, it would have quite a portrait design of the sign-in, because it would have the Google logo, it would sort of say sign-in, and it would have your username and then your password, it would ask underneath, and then the sign-in button was underneath that. So it was all kind of in a tower sort of layout, and that translated across everything. This is different. It's much more, I don't know how else to describe it, like landscape, where you've got the Google logo on the left, sign in, use your Google account, and then on the right, you've got enter your email or phone number, and then the sign in buttons underneath. So I'm concerned about mobile devices, and the other thing I'm concerned about is when you're signing into things like Mac Mail and Outlook and things like that, and it brings up that sort of little window,
tiny little window,
sign in. Yeah, and is this going to format correctly in those? Have they? I assume Google have taken account of all of that, and somehow it's going to be the right size and it's going to format correctly. But those are my two immediate concerns about this.
Yes, well, you don't need to worry about mobile devices, because as we know, everyone is using a large screen Android device. If they're
or
not
a
using
foldable
a
Android
device, or foldable, so then I'm sure it will fit just right and perfectly upon that device. But yeah, I do know what you mean. I'm sure that there is a graphic within our document. You'll find a link for that in the podcast description. I'm sure this is just one example, and I'm sure it would look very similar across the other devices. I would very much like to think that they have taken into consideration the average phone size, for example, or some of the other devices that you can use. So I'm sure it would adjust accordingly.
I think it's quite a simple update, and I do think it looks nice. I'd just be, that's the only thing I'm being cautious about from an administration point of view, is what it's going to be like on those other situations. But all in all, very, very nice. It looks really great. It looks so much more modern than their old sign-in screen.
They've done so many of these visual updates over the last few months just to update everything, which I do quite like. You could kind of argue, again, that it's just somebody twiddling their thumbs, let's just change everything for the sake of it. But overall, most of these visual updates have actually been both aesthetically pleasing and much easier for everyone to use. And
Google's got to keep up with their competition. They've got to keep up with their competition, and I think these are valid updates that they're doing to make their systems look more modern and more in keeping with what people are expecting. So
yes, not like when they changed all their app icons so they're all identical, but all the other visual updates that they've done we've liked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a bit controversial, that. What's the getting started rollout pace and availability, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, there is no admin control for this feature. For the end users, there's also no end user setting for this feature, because it's just the login screen. Users will see the new improvements automatically, but if you like, you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about the new Google sign-in page, and there's a link in our document for that. Rapid release and scheduled releases, there's a gradual rollout for this update update, so potentially up to 15 days for feature visibility, which started on February the 21st, with anticipated completion upon March the 4th. This is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers and users with a personal Google account.
Great, thanks, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Next up, the Google Meet API is now generally available. So back in November, Google announced the availability of the Google Meet API through their developer preview program. The Google Meet API is now generally available. You can use the Meet API to programmatically create and configure Meet calls, retrieve information about past meetings, such as the meeting times and attendees, access meeting artifacts, such as transcripts and video recordings, subscribe to real-time updates on meetings, such as when a participant joins or leaves. For more information, you can always reference the original announcement, which I've added a link in our document for. Integrating the Meet API in your products with the Google Meet API streamlines workflows and provides your products with Meet information that easily enhances your product offering. For example, partners such as HubSpot, Outreach, Salesforce, and SalesLoft currently integrates the Meet API into their solutions to pull meeting recordings and artifacts into their conversational intelligence tools for analysis and sales coaching.
Well, this is great. I mean, we're not developers, but having an API like this that can do these sorts of things is exceptionally useful for anybody who's running an application or a platform to be able to pull this stuff out. The graphic that they've got here, which is... What application is this in?
I want to say Salesforce, just based
like Salesforce,
on their logo.
Yeah, I think it's Salesforce. And having all of those things put in to that meeting automatically, I think is really, really cool. Being able to pull out the transcripts and it being able to, I guess, kind of scan maybe the transcripts and pull out some of those things. That's where it's talking about pull meeting recordings and artifacts into intelligence tools. So I'm guessing that's where it's got those little auto tags almost, where it's got things like budget and stuff like that on next steps, which is really, really cool. So I think this is great, and this is another example. I know it doesn't directly talk about AI here, but this is another example of where those intelligent or AI tools can be used to kind of scan all of that information and go, here's a summary of it in a simple way, or a simple comparison rather, even the way that Google Chat now summarizes your chats and says, hey, this is what's going on, does it really, really well. So I think this is very, very nice. I think this would be great for any developers who are running platforms or tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, pretty cool.
Yeah. What's the getting started rollout pace and availability, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, you can manage domain-wide API access controls in the admin console under the security menu. You can visit Google's Help Center for more information on API access controls and what requirements you need to use Google Meet. Links in our document for that. For the developers out there, you can use the developer documentation for more information about using the Google Meet API. Again, I've added a link in our document for that. This is available right now and is available to all Google Workspace customers.
Great, thank you very much, Adam. What's our last update, please?
So finally from us this week, we've got another Google Meet update. So you can now check into your meeting room directly from the Google Meet Green Room. So one of the challenges of joining a virtual meeting from a conference room is that people in the room are identified by the name of the conference room rather than as individuals. Google Meet's room check-in feature helps ensure everyone in the meeting can see your name and can be aware of your presence. If you're using companion mode on the web, which we spoke a fair bit about last week, I think it was, you can now check into your meeting room directly from the green room. Then, when you enter the call, everyone will immediately see your name alongside the conference room you're joining from. Previously, you were prompted to check in once you were on the call, which is still available if you did not check in from the green room.
Okay, so I'm guessing this makes a bit more sense to anybody who uses companion mode. Like we said in the last update, when we were talking about this, as you say, Adam, we don't use companion mode, so we're not overly familiar with how it works on an interface sort of point of view. The nice thing here is there are some moving graphics showing how this works. I can understand this in principle, but I think this probably makes more sense to somebody who's used to using companion mode and doing that kind of check-in thing.
Yeah, so what I'm guessing from this, it sounds like previously, if you were in a meeting room, and that was just called Office, for example, and then you were joining Google Meets from there, from the Google Meets hardware, it would say Office has joined this meeting, and then once you were in, you would be able to change your name and say, oh, my name is Adam, and I'm the person that's in this meeting. Whereas now you can join the meeting straight away as Adam, or whatever your name happens to be, to save that extra step of also potentially avoiding a bit of confusion, because if you're not the first person in the meeting and then there's other people there and everyone else would see, oh, Office has joined, well who's Office? So now they'll see Adam has joined instead.
Yes, I think that you're right. I'm not too sure that it completely removes the Meet hardware device name.
Oh no! It still says that. Oh, sorry, it would say Adam has joined from the office. So then it still mentions where the hardware of the location of where you are, but you can also include your name as well.
I see. So rather than the hardware, the Meet hardware being a person and checking in, it's kind of like got all these sub people underneath the Meet hardware who are checking in, related to that Meet hardware or that conference
Instead
room.
of the hardware checking in, a person has checked in on that hardware.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I think you've got it, Adam. Yeah, I think you're right with this is how it works, which is cool. Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely cuts down on confusion. So I think that is wonderful. Anything that cuts down on confusion or causes less problems, then that's fantastic. So that's really good. I've noticed as well that somebody's email address is actually in the top right of the moving graphic, but I don't know whether that's just a demo email. I hope so.
Let's find out.
I think I think it's really good. I think it's a good update. Anybody who's using companion mode, and again, for anybody who's not familiar with companion mode, in a sort of as brief as possible, if you're in a situation where you've got a big conference room and you've got a Meet hardware device at the front of the conference room, it allows you as an individual to say have a Chromebook or have a mobile device, and you can check in to the meeting, or you can go in via companion mode to the meeting, and you can do stuff like you can chat and you can have your camera on and stuff like that. Not really a microphone, because that's being picked up on the Meet hardware, but it allows you to have individual control, because otherwise, if you imagine you're in a conference room, there's 10 of you, and you want to say something, you can't use the hand raise feature, for example. You physically have to put your hand up. Ha! What a plebeian way of doing things. So you can now use the hand raise feature on your mobile app, for example, because you're in companion mode. That's why it's called companion mode. So I think that this is a good enhancement to that, and I think you've described that really well, Adam, as checking in under the hardware device. I think that's what you're doing. Great. What's the getting started rollout pace and availability, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins out there, this feature will be on by default, but it can be disabled at the OU level for specific hardware devices or users. You can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about managing Meet settings, link in our document. For the end users, if it has been enabled by your admin, room check-in will be available for all users joining companion mode from meet.google.com or by using g.co/companion. Check in by selecting the Google Meet hardware device on the call. You can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about using companion mode for hybrid learning and collaboration. As well, there's also a video link guide that I've added in our document, and our faithful listeners may recall that this may or may not be the same video that we tried to link in a previous document when we were discussing this, but that video was put into private mode, so you cannot. However, what I found interesting about this video is like 3 years old or something.
Oh. Really?
So it's not actually brand new. I watched it earlier, but I seem to recall, I'm sure it said it was a few years old at least. So
I suppose it's using companion mode, which has been around for a while.
I think it was more of a demo of companion mode,
Yeah.
not specifically this one update, but I think it was just more of an overview of companion mode. But I was expecting a brand new shiny video, and they gave me one that was
in
they're
private
recycled. Yes, quite. So rapid release. There's a gradual rollout which started on February the 21st. Scheduled release domains though. There's also a gradual rollout which is starting on March the 5th, and this update is available to all Google Workspace customers with Meet hardware devices.
Ah, yes, important point. You've got to have Meet hardware devices. Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Adam, for getting all of that, especially that huge Gemini update. That was a lot of talk in there, so thank you very much for that, Adam. And that's it, listeners. That's everything that you need to know about all of the updates that are happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that there is a video version of this podcast available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7, and audio version available from wherever you cast your pods. Thank you very much for joining us this week.
We'll be back again next week with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.